There's a pain so deep it doesn't scream. It just lingers in the quiet moments, when you're lying in bed alone, when you delete a photo that once meant everything, when you replay conversations that didn't end the way you hoped. It's the kind of pain only those who have loved with their entire soul and then lost can understand. And if you're here, it's likely because that pain still echoes in your heart. Not just because you went through a divorce, but because you are one of the chosen. And when a chosen one goes through heartbreak, it doesn't just break the heart. It shakes the very foundation of your spirit. People around you may say, "It's just a breakup. Move on." But for you, it wasn't just a relationship. It was a sacred covenant. It felt ordained. It felt eternal. And yet, it ended. So you ask yourself the questions that don't have easy answers. Why did I feel such a deep spiritual connection only to watch it fall apart? Did I fail my mission? Was this really love, or was I deceived? Why would God let something that felt so divine dissolve into silence? If you've ever asked those questions, you're not alone and you're not broken. In fact, you're being realigned. What if I told you that your heartbreak was not a detour, but a doorway? That your divorce didn't mark the end of your calling, but the beginning of a higher assignment? You see, when God chooses someone, truly chooses them, He doesn't only bless their hands, He sanctifies their heart. He doesn't just send you into the world. He prepares your vessel to carry light others cannot bear. And sometimes that preparation includes removing people who were never meant to walk the full journey with you, even if they once felt like your twin flame. Even if you prayed together, even if you thought they were the one, this message is for those who have wrestled in the dark with silent tears, asking heaven if there's still purpose in their pain. I want to tell you, yes, there is. There's a divine reason your relationship ended. And it's not because you're unworthy of love. It's not because you're hard to be with. It's because your soul was assigned a path that could not be completed while you were tethered to someone who wasn't spiritually equipped to rise with you. Sometimes love doesn't die because it wasn't real. It dies because your growth demanded space. Because heaven whispered, "This cannot go with you where you're going." And I want to walk with you through that truth, because I know the loneliness, the shame, the confusion, but also the quiet confirmation that somewhere deep inside, this breaking was not a punishment. It was a release, a divine unbinding. So before we begin, I want you to do something powerful. If your heart is already being stirred by these words, if you feel like this message was carved out just for you, leave a comment with the number 111. That number is a divine sign of alignment, that even in your breaking, God is orchestrating your breakthrough. Drop it in the comments, even if it's the only thing you say. Let heaven see your confirmation. And if this is your first time here, make sure you subscribe. There are truths coming in this video that many would never dare speak. But you need to hear them, and I want to walk this sacred journey with you. Now, let's begin. Because God has a message for you, and it will change the way you see your past and your purpose. Before we can understand why your relationship ended and why it had to, we must first understand who you are. Not in the eyes of the world, not through the lens of pain, but through the eyes of heaven. You see, being a chosen one is not about perfection, title, or religious rituals. It's about essence. It's about the kind of soul you carry. A soul that was not simply born, but commissioned. A soul that carries blueprints from realms most people don't even believe in. If you are a chosen one, you've likely felt it your whole life, that you don't quite fit, that you feel too deeply, that you see patterns others ignore, that you hear silent truths in places where others hear only noise. Even as a child, your sensitivity wasn't a weakness. It was evidence. Evidence that your spirit was tuned into higher frequencies, that you were sent not just to survive this life, but to transform it, to interrupt generational cycles, to expose lies, to awaken truth, but that calling came with a price, because when you carry light, darkness notices. When you radiate healing, broken people gravitate toward you, not always to love you, but often to consume you. And when you are chosen, your relationships are not random. They are often assignments, and this is where the heartbreak begins. Because most people fall in love hoping to find comfort, but the chosen one often falls in love through purpose, through recognition. You don't just see someone smile, you see their soul. You don't just date casually, you merge spiritually. And this is what makes your separations so painful, because when you separate, it doesn't feel like you're walking away from a person. It feels like you're tearing your own soul in half. And yet, this tearing is not without reason. It's part of your refinement, because your mission on this earth is not to simply attach to what feels good, it's to align with what is true. Many chosen ones were placed in relationships not because that person was there forever, but because that person was a mirror. A reflection of what needed healing, confronting, forgiving, or releasing. And once that work was done, once the soul extracted what it came to learn, the tie began to dissolve. That doesn't make you a failure. That doesn't mean you couldn't keep love. It means you were awakened. It means that your energy no longer vibrated at the same level as theirs. It means that your soul outgrew the container it once called home. And as painful as that is, it's holy. Because a chosen one cannot stay where the spirit is being suffocated. Your sensitivity is not emotional fragility. It is divine instrumentation. It picks up what the conscious mind can't yet name. And when you start feeling that something is spiritually misaligned, even if the love is still there, your soul knows, and it prepares you to release. So if you've ever wondered why your heart stayed long after your spirit already left, this is why. You were trying to honor the love, but your assignment had shifted, and no matter how much you try to hold on, when heaven says release, it means there's something greater on the horizon. Not always another partner. Sometimes a version of yourself that you could only meet once you were free, and that's where we're going next. One of the most painful experiences for a chosen one is not simply the end of a relationship. It's the feeling of being abandoned by God in the process. You wonder how something that once felt so blessed, so divinely guided, could suddenly shatter into silence and loneliness. You question the visions you had, the dreams you shared, the prayers you prayed together. You ask yourself, did I hear God wrong? Was it all just illusion? Why would the divine allow my heart to break like this? These are not just emotional questions. They are spiritual crises, because for the chosen one, love isn't casual, it's covenantal, it's sacred. When you love with the full weight of your soul. So when that love ends, it doesn't feel like you've lost a partner. It feels like you've lost a part of your spiritual journey, and that's exactly why the pain feels so heavy. Because it isn't just about loss, it's about purpose. See, the divine doesn't orchestrate every relationship to last forever, but every relationship is used for your becoming. God doesn't waste experiences, even the ones that end in tears, especially the ones that end in tears. Sometimes, the most painful separation is the very doorway that awakens your next level of calling. Because in the silence that follows heartbreak, something deeper begins to stir. A voice that was previously drowned out by noise, a clarity that could only emerge after the storm, a version of you that could not exist while you were still trying to carry someone who was never meant to walk the full path with you. But this does not make your love any less real. It just means that some loves are seasonal, and the chosen one, more than anyone, must learn how to recognize when a divine season has ended. Holding on after that moment becomes resistance, and resistance breeds suffering. This is where faith becomes essential. Not the kind of faith that expects everything to go your way, but the kind of deep, raw soul faith that says, even in this pain, I trust that God has not forsaken me. Even in this ending, there is a new beginning being written. Even in this silence, the divine is speaking, and I will listen. Because for the chosen one, divorce is not just the ending of a chapter. It is often the burning away of everything false, of illusions, of codependency, of trying to save someone who was never yours to save, of shrinking yourself just to stay in alignment with a version of love that no longer fits your destiny. Yes, it hurts. Yes, it feels like your chest has been
split open. But what's being born through that pain is a new clarity, a new identity, a new assignment.
And if you let it, that pain can become your sacred teacher. The one that shows you how to love yourself, not just with gentleness, but with truth. Because sometimes the most spiritual thing you can do is walk away. And in the eyes of heaven, that is not failure. It is courage. It is obedience. It is the mark of someone who is no longer living for comfort, but for alignment. There's a silent grief that rarely gets spoken aloud. It's not the grief of betrayal or abuse. It's the grief of simply outgrowing someone. And for the chosen ones, this kind of growth is not optional. It is encoded into your soul's design. You're not just here to evolve. You're here to transform, to ascend, to awaken deeper truths and walk paths others are too afraid to even acknowledge. And sometimes the people you once loved deeply simply cannot follow you there, not because they're bad, not because you're better, but because your souls were moving at different speeds. You see, when you are called, truly called, by the divine, there is an urgency within you, a knowing that you cannot stay in old patterns, old beliefs, old energies. You feel the pull to shed skins, to release attachments, to move forward even when it breaks your own heart. This is the agony of spiritual acceleration. And no one teaches you how to navigate this kind of grief, the kind where you're not angry, not resentful, but simply no longer aligned. At first, you try to bring them with you. You speak life into their dreams. You share the insights you're receiving. You open portals in your conversations, hoping they'll step through. You wait, you pray, you hold space. But the truth becomes clearer each day. They are not moving with you. They're holding on to comfort while you're being asked to walk through fire. And eventually, the pain of staying small becomes greater than the fear of walking alone. So you make the hardest decision of all. You leave not because you stopped loving them, but because you finally started loving yourself. You choose the unknown over the familiar. You choose your calling over your comfort. You choose your expansion over their stagnation. And that choice, dear one, takes divine courage. It is not abandonment. It is alignment. Many won't understand it. They'll say you gave up too soon, that you were too intense, too serious, too spiritual. But deep down you know the truth. You didn't walk away from love. You walked toward your soul. This is the paradox for the chosen ones. Your path demands that you learn to release even the things that once felt sacred, because your soul came to serve a higher rhythm. And not everyone has ears to hear it, nor the willingness to dance to it. Letting go doesn't mean you failed. It means you honored the divine timing. You recognized that you had reached the end of a sacred contract. You fulfilled your role. You gave what you could. And now the Spirit is calling you into deeper territory. So bless them, release them, thank them. But do not stay small for them, because the cost of denying your growth is always greater than the comfort of familiar love. And your destiny is not a place you can reach by dragging someone who doesn't want to rise with you. The ones meant to walk beside you will recognize your fire, not try to put it out. They will feel your wings unfolding and stretch their own to fly beside you. But until then, you walk alone, not in bitterness, but in boldness, not in heartbreak, but in hope, because you trust what the divine is doing, even when it doesn't make sense yet. Sometimes the separation isn't a punishment, it's a sacred reset, a holy interruption in the life you thought you were building to make space for the life your soul actually came here to live. Chosen one, hear me on this. What looked like a breakdown was, in truth, a breakthrough in disguise. When the divine calls you out of a relationship, especially one built on years of shared memories, emotional investment, and spiritual dreams, it rarely feels divine at all. It feels like death. It feels like something sacred was ripped out of your chest. You doubt yourself. You replay every moment wondering, did I give up too soon? Or was this just a test I failed? But sometimes, the divine interruption is the only way your true essence can rise to the surface. You see, when two people join together before their time, or for the wrong reason, or without a full awareness of their inner wounding, the connection often becomes a mirror of compromise, not alignment. Love turns into routine. Purpose turns into performance. And the soul, your soul, starts whispering, there's more than this. Don't settle here. At first, the whispers are subtle. You feel restless. You sense the gap between who you are becoming and who you are expected to remain. And then, when you ignore those nudges long enough, life begins to shake everything. The arguments become more frequent. The joy fades. The vision blurs. The divine starts removing the glue that once held you together. Not out of cruelty, but because something higher is trying to be born in you. It hurts. God knows it hurts. But spiritual separation is not destruction. It is distillation. It strips away the layers that were never truly yours. It peels back the masks you wore to stay loved, the roles you played to keep the peace. It leaves you bare, exposed, and incredibly vulnerable. But in that rawness, you finally meet yourself. You begin to see what you tolerated. You realize what you abandoned in yourself to maintain connection. You remember the passions, the callings, the truths that got buried beneath compromise. And most importantly, you hear the voice of God more clearly than ever before, because sometimes the silence that follows separation is not emptiness. It's sacred space. Space for the divine to speak directly to your heart. Space for the healing to begin. Space for the reassembling of your soul on stronger foundations. This is where the real rebuilding begins. Not just of your confidence, not just of your dreams, but of your identity as a child of God. You are reminded that you are not someone's ex. You are not a failure. You are not too much or too hard to love. You are not a broken version of your past self. You are becoming what you were always meant to be, but couldn't see until the old structures fell apart. And here's the miracle. Once that rebuilding begins, you stop craving what was lost and start blessing what was released. You no longer chase closure. You no longer need their validation, because you see that what ended was not your destiny. It was the chapter that prepared you for your destiny. The divine separated you not to destroy your hope, but to preserve it. Not to strip you of love, but to teach you how to love yourself sacredly first. Not to punish you, but to position you for something greater, purer, and far more aligned. So if you're still mourning the loss, let yourself grieve. But do not confuse absence with abandonment. God did not leave you. He led you right into a deeper version of yourself, right into the wilderness where prophets are born, right into the fire that forges gold. This is not the end of your love story. This is the beginning of your becoming. There is a sacred truth that many chosen ones forget in their sorrow. God never subtracts without a plan to multiply. But before he can bring the divine connection you were truly made for, he must first ensure that you have laid the former altar to rest. What does that mean? It means that you cannot carry the grief, the guilt, the memory, or the emotional residue of your past marriage into the promise of your future union. Not if you want it to be holy, not if you want it to last. The next love story, the one God has hidden in the folds of time, waiting for your readiness, will require a new version of you. A you who no longer walks with the chains of the past. A you who has forgiven deeply, released freely, and healed completely. A you who no longer looks backward, wondering, what if? But instead looks forward, asking, what now? But here's the tension. Many chosen ones sabotage the next blessing because they haven't fully buried the last one. They carry emotional ghosts into new covenants. They compare new partners to old wounds. They cling to the idea of what could have been while standing in front of what could be, and in doing so, they close the door on miracles. Chosen one, you were never meant to live in spiritual limbo. You are not called to preserve what heaven has already unbound. And the most tragic mistake isn't that you got divorced. It's that you continue spiritually married to someone who no longer walks your path. Release it, not just physically, but energetically, emotionally, spiritually. Cut the soul ties that keep pulling you back into places of pain. Tear down the altars built around memories that no longer serve your evolution. Because the truth is this: the divine connection ahead of you will not be built on brokenness, but on wholeness. It won't demand you shrink to fit it. It will stretch you into greater purpose. This next union, if and when it comes, will not arrive as a rescue. It will arrive as a recognition. Two souls who have been refined in the fire. Two hearts who have both known sacred separation. Two spirits who have chosen truth over comfort, purpose over performance, and God over everything. You will not have to chase them. You will not have to convince them of your worth. Because when God writes the next chapter, you don't compete, you align. But you must be willing to let go completely, to stop mourning what didn't work, to stop romanticizing what almost destroyed you, to stop calling yourself broken because something ended. Chosen one, you are not broken. You are in divine preparation. So clear the altar. Let the last flame burn out. Wash the ashes from your hands and prepare your heart for something new, not because you need it, but because you are ready. And until it comes, if it comes, live fully, boldly, and sacredly, knowing that you are already whole, already loved, already complete in the eyes of the one who called you. This is the power of releasing the past. This is the path to the promise. If you've walked with me through every part of this message, if each word echoed something ancient inside you, then let this final truth settle deep within your soul. You did not fail. You were freed. The end of your marriage wasn't a detour. It was a divine redirection. Not everyone who walks into your life is meant to stay forever. Some people are sacred messengers, some are divine mirrors. Some are simply the bridge between who you were and who God is calling you to become. But very few are meant to walk with you to the mountaintop. And that's not because you're too broken. It's because your calling is too great. The chosen ones do not live ordinary lives. They do not experience ordinary love. And they do not endure loss without it carrying a sacred purpose. What happened may have shattered you. But your soul remembers the assignment. You are still on the path. You are still being led. You are still chosen. That heartbreak did not ruin you. It refined you. It taught you discernment. It taught you self-worth. It taught you how to listen when your spirit says, "This is not aligned." It taught you that peace is not found in the arms of another, but in the presence of the one who made you. And now, you are wiser. You are clearer. You are softer in places where you were once guarded, and stronger in places where you were once fragile. That is not a curse. That is a crown. So do not waste another breath asking why they left or why it ended or why God allowed it. Instead, ask, what is being born in me now? Because that is the true miracle. Not that you survived, but that you're still open, still faithful, still standing in the sacred ruins with your heart in your hands, willing to trust again, not in people, but in the divine story being written through you. You are not waiting to be rescued. You are learning how to rise. So take a breath. Lift your chin, wipe your tears, and walk forward, not as someone who lost love, but as someone who learned how to love themselves through loss. You are no longer bound to what broke you. You are free. And the next chapter, it won't be a repeat of your past. It will be a revelation of your promise. So stay on the path, trust the process, and remember, you were never abandoned. You were always being led. If this message found a home in your soul, I invite you to leave a comment below with the number 111, a sacred symbol of alignment, new beginnings, and divine protection over your next season. Your words might be the light someone else needs. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe now, because this space was created for souls like yours, brave, broken open, and destined for something holy. You are not alone. We walk this sacred road together. Until next time, I honor your light, your pain, your story, and the healing still unfolding.